Hello.
Travis, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Check that out. We're in action. Hey, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you as well. This is fun.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully we'll see how it goes. We'll learn
Well,
something, huh?
can't be bad, so.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got some kids in the house somewhere?
I do. They might show themselves
Nice.
periodically.
I know.
There's no lock on the door, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of screwed.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna do a little fiddling around here to get things squared away and set up. Nope, I don't want to do that. I have no. These past versions of this, Travis, just a couple people have logged in periodically to
It's fine.
watch.
Yeah.
Who knows how it'll play out? Barry, who's in here now, he's joined for almost every one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I must say it's a very innovative idea for like the COVID situation. I love it.
Yeah, I mean I've been digging it. It's a cool way for me to like think about mountains while unable to
Yeah.
travel around. Uh, I am borderline obsessed with just looking at maps online right now. That's my personal like stress binge activity. So
Yeah.
this is a good way to like prompt uh,
Yeah. It's a healthy
versions of that.
outlet, I'd say, as far as stress binges go.
Yeah, I've got like 20 years worth of trips planned out, more than
Nice.
I could ever execute.
That's how it should be.
Uh,
So I got your outline.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Fantastic stuff. If you want to wait for more people to join or whatever and whatnot, like,
Now let's just I'm gonna make sure I've got the same outline I can look at. Let's just dive right in. Let's talk shop.
yeah. So my background, um, I moved out to like Seattle like 8 years ago or so, and I was like, I'm gonna climb. I want to be a climber from
Hmm.
Illinois, right?
Okay.
And I started skiing though on the recommendation of a friend I made, and that changed everything. I was like, climbing, what's climbing? Like
Yeah.
this skiing thing is where it's at. And this is 9 years ago, so I was in like my mid 20s and poor. So I was like, I can only have one sport.
Yeah.
So I went into skiing kind of full bore. Spent 3 years in the resort, kind of just getting things going, and then I also really like mountaineering too. So I started to see them kind of come together. I took some pro guiding with Martin Volken
Uh-huh.
in North Bend. Like I took their alpine snow course and climbed Mount Baker with them. Got all the crevasse rescue, all that stuff.
Hmm.
The next year, I did an alpine rock course. Like these are 3-day courses or whatnot, and climbed Sahalee Peak. Rock climbing is still not my go-to, but it's still fun to have those skills and it was a great trip. I loved it. Um, and then after that, I decided, well, I should take my ARI course, ARI
Hmm.
1. So I did that and got that going. And then I was planning on doing more like mentorship touring things this year,
Hmm.
but didn't get around to it with the kids and stuff. When I skipped the end last year, I skied off of the top of Mount Adams. So it was like my first like, hey, this is legit. Like, why would I ever walk down a mountain again?
Yeah, yeah.
And with all of the volcanoes around here, I was like, hey, that'd be kind of a fun little goal to chip away at over time. Is like ski all of them.
Hmm.
And Rainier's the one that intimidates me the most, and hence I was like, this would be a great like get as much background and information as I can about it, and this would be a really good way to do it.
Sure.
Because I mean, just the altitude, the crevasse hazard, it's a whole nother kind of ball game compared to some of the other volcanoes in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my background. I don't know if you have any like questions about it or anything, but
Uh, did you ski prior to moving west? Or you like
no,
you're
I
in a
learned it from scratch out here. Yeah.
how would you describe your downhill skiing ability?
Like black for sure in just about any condition,
Hmm.
and then double black, fairly good. Like I do have my certain limits of like how icy
Sure.
like how like super steep it really is and like things like that. But so I would say I'm advanced but not expert is
Sure.
probably like the best way to like pare it down.
Right on. And like in a typical year where like, or not a typical year, but like a super motivated ski season, how frequently can you get out backcountry skiing in terms of lifestyle wise, you know?
Yeah. So this year was kind of a test case. I mean, in a good and a bad way. So like resort skiing, I usually get about 30 days in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this year, like I said, I didn't get to do as much backcountry, but what I did a lot of on-piste fitness touring.
Yeah.
Since like out here, I primarily do my touring in the spring,
Yeah.
when things are just more stable. And I'm like, especially before I had my area, I was like, I'm not doing anything in the winter by myself. Like it's stupid. Like
Understood. Yeah.
winter scares. I mean, spring scares me enough, so I should just like keep it low key. So I do most stuff like Camp Muir, things like that. And then do like a big trip like Adams or something. So I've been trying to add in more stuff like that. So right now it's so low, like that amount of like pure winter backcountry skiing, other than
Sure.
on piste, which I would do about once a week.
Okay.
Uh,
No, that paints a picture. That's helpful. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, cool. That helps a lot. Um, Generally speaking, also, how when you're doing these courses with technical skills involved, the crevasse stuff, are you like picking that up and
Yeah.
retaining it, or is it tougher for you, or somewhere in the middle?
It's not, no, like cross rescue, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like self arrest, ropes, knots, like that kind of stuff. No, that's never been really an issue. To pick those things up, that's been pretty easy, and I could still like do it today. Like I
Sure.
practice pretty regularly. And like usually every spring, I'm like, yeah, let's pull the rope out, and like I have that Petzl rescue kit with the micro traction and everything, and I use all that. And, I love that stuff. It's just fun.
Cool. And it works in your brain, it sounds like.
It does, yeah. Like it all makes sense.
That's not
Like,
ubiquitous, you know. That's good to,
yeah.
you got to count your blessings there. And lastly, I guess in terms of your background, uh, outside of skiing and mountaineering stuff, any endurance athletics?
Yeah, I run a lot. Um, and I cycle a decent bit too, but not as much. I've been doing way more running just
Mm-hmm.
since it's been a little bit easier. I feel like I get more bang for my buck in terms of time running, with kids and family, like
Cool.
2 hours of biking is like 45 minutes of running. So like, it's like, I'll go for a run.
Sure.
So that's what I primarily do. And like this month I've run almost 90 miles
Cool.
so far
Right on.
this month. So I try to keep that up.
Yeah. Uh, no, that's great stuff. Well, that helps paint a picture for me to put all this in context.
Yeah.
Something that'll help put this in context as well as we explore maps and gear lists and logistical matters and such. I haven't climbed or skied on Mount Rainier since 2001, a long time. But I hiked the Wonderland Trail last fall with my girlfriend. So the geography, I
Oh,
was
fun.
like, oh yeah, the geography is familiar from being there then. But in terms of on the glaciers, I haven't been there in almost 20 years. And that was early in my climbing and skiing career. We got
Sure.
high on the Emmons and skied a bunch on the other side of the mountain as well that particular season. That's sort of my experience with Rainier. But I've got tons of glaciated ski mountaineering all around the world otherwise.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of their videos for sure. Yeah.
Cool. And then the formal guide training and stuff will plays into all this, of course. Well, cool. Let me just glance at this list of things we thought we'd talk about. Well, it's sort of a good segue right into fitness. Is that what I put on? I've been looking at the wrong list of things.
Yeah, let me look.
I had an
I think
order,
it was
then I moved it around.
timing. It was logistics first.
Yeah, that's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Let me just pull up the same thing so I can. Oh boy. Yeah, season. Uh, Generally speaking, I think like high skiing on Rainier, right, is May and June, sort of the
Hmm.
convention, right?
That's what
Uh,
I would hold to.
yeah, and there's pros and cons within that window. Early May is really darn cold up high
Yeah.
when you get up that high, and later in June, especially on thinner snow years, the crevasses are going to be starting to open up. Or
Hmm.
and I guess on a real thin year, that'd be the case in late June. Um, those are really the things I'd be thinking about with you living there. I think you're going to want to, the best way to do it is to just be somewhat flexible, be fit and ready starting in
Yeah.
May and watching things and shuffling the schedule and family logistics and stuff to find the window
Hmm.
because you have that option living there.
Yeah.
That's the way to play that. Um, yeah, that's about all really on timing.
Hmm.
Um, you had a question about going with a guide versus self-guided.
Yeah,
Uh,
just kind of like the things to consider. You being a guide, I think it's a really interesting question because it really like sets up like that dichotomy of like, hey, like at what point should you consider doing it with someone else to learn more stuff and accelerate your chances of success? And even if you don't summit and do it, you're still going to learn a lot, right?
yeah,
And then when do I like, for some people it's a no-brainer, like, oh yeah, you wouldn't hire a guide for that. But then for other people it would be. And I just kind of want to get your opinion on that because I'm totally open to the option.
yeah. I mean, I think you're with your background, you could give it a go with a guide, right now. I
Yeah.
think if you wanted to go unguided, this probably the biggest difference is that in order to do it with some confidence and a margin for error,
Yep.
unguided, you're looking at like a few hardy seasons of like uh, self-guided ski mountaineering,
Hmm.
to
Like doing
really,
Adams more, doing the more easy stuff more frequently.
yeah,
St. Helens,
building
Adams,
up to it.
like Glacier, and then Mount Baker would be a little bit more similar to Rainier.
Yeah, you'd go on a progression, and yeah, I mean, and that's not by any means that's not absolutely necessary. One of the like glaciated volcano ski mountaineering on the right day isn't much different than skinning Alpental
Yeah.
or whatever. But in the wrong situation, it is full on. Like
Yeah, it's brutal. Like when we
so,
did Adams, it didn't warm up enough to really soften it up high.
mhm,
So like the top third of the mountain was just coral reef
yeah,
ice, and that was less than ideal.
yeah. Um, so if you want to go to, I think going to something like Rainier, sure, people have pulled it off with a heck of a lot less experience than you have already right now,
Hmm.
and had a great time. But that's a big roll of the dice.
Yeah,
So let's make the fundamental assumption that you want to go with like some margin for enjoying
I like
yourself
margin.
and coming home with all 20 year digits, Uh, in which case, yeah, for given where you're at, self-guided, you're looking at, a 5-year apprenticeship to that.
Hmm.
And guided, you'd want a relationship with a guide prior, and you have to work within the the Rainier commercial use system, which is a whole bear of a task of its own. But your fundamental abilities, I think, are there where it wouldn't be out of the question. And
Great.
then,
Well, yeah.
so those are the main things: the time to completion, I guess,
Yeah.
and investment there in that. But then on the other hand, there's that's not the only equation. It's not just this like mathematical calculation. It's two very different experiences going with a guide versus not. You're
Yeah.
gonna learn a heck of a lot more and probably feel better during the experience with a guide, but there's a whole different level of satisfaction going without a guide. I'm well aware of that.
And I've done both, so I
Yeah.
totally I know that Adams was way more scary because I was like, whoa,
Right.
it's just me and my friend, and we haven't done a lot of this. And then
Yeah.
I've done guided trips where I'm like, especially with Martin Vulcan, somebody with 30 years, who's pioneer, I trust you implicitly,
Right.
So it's definitely a different feeling.
Yeah. And those two things are interconnected, but they're also somewhat separate. One's a sort of mathematical timeline calculations. The other is a sort of an aesthetic consideration, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nope. Totally feel it.
Does that sort of spell it out on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good picture of what it is. And I don't really have too much either way. I just want to enjoy it. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could enjoy it both ways. And I have no emphasis on, I want to do this myself. It'd be cool. But on my guided trips, I've been with such wonderful guides that they've just made the experience even more fun.
Cool.
Because they have all these stories and, they've been climbing for years. And it's kind of it's so fun to talk with them while you're doing it.
Yeah.
That I really enjoy that part of the process quite a bit.
My
wife appreciates it a lot too when I go with a guy.
Yeah. Spouses are the ones that really pay my bills.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah. Cool. I think that nails that one big time.
Cool. Yeah. I'd say it's like a 5-year apprenticeship if you want to be going up there with someone your equal.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a bit quicker than that if you can somehow rope in better accompaniment. Group size you asked about, partner selection. I think that somewhat plays in with the guide thing. But really, the biggest, rowdiest glaciated ski mountaineering I've done is always is a team of 3.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That fits on a single rope when you need to. It's enough for skiing down. You have two ropes in the group, so there's always a rope on the surface if someone goes in a hole when they're unroped. It's a small enough group that when you're roped together, you've got some mobility in the rope team. Communication's easier than if the group gets bigger. 2 rope teams of 3 can work, but that is a bear of a task to get everyone going in the same direction at the same time with the same mindset.
And that's 3 is ideal. I think so. Especially for a bigger glaciated peak. I think if it's not heavily glaciated, 2 is okay. Right. Adams was just the 2 of us, but we went on the route that didn't have the glaciers on it, or if they were so small that the margin of error was acceptable to us. But now, for Rainier, I wouldn't pull any punches 3 for sure.
Yeah. Your next question you didn't ask this. I inserted this here. 1 day versus multi-day. I think you in your email you indicated you asked about tents, and I think your fundamental assumption was it's this is something you do and you camp out, and it's cool. It's cool to camp there at Camp Sherman and high on Rainier and carry all your stuff and be self-contained. But I wouldn't say it's automatically the easiest or best way to do it.
No.
Mm-hmm. If you've got the wherewithal to truly train for the effort required, a 1-day mission for something like that is far more enjoyable.
Yeah, when I did Adams, having that big heavy pack I was like, this is just making the skiing so much harder. We didn't take the heavy packs to the summit, obviously, but I was just like, geez, this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what's the approach to that Camp Sherman's 5,000 vertical feet? That is a long way with some camping gear. And we'll look at a gear list and see, you can get the camping gear fairly light. It's not, doesn't have to be a giant beatdown of a backpack. But you can also, you're living there. You could, one day prior, just go up and ski that interglacier as a day tour of its own, get a feel for the lay of the land, get that, like, your expectations aligned. And then on the day of, you're doing that in the dark. You've already been there, comfortable with it, familiar with it, know what to expect. You get to Camp Sherman around the same time everyone else is waking up, but you slept at your house or in a hotel or wherever,
Yeah.
versus sleeping on the ground. I think that the camping is similar to guided versus unguided. It's a combination of efficiency and the pros and cons therein, and the aesthetic part of the experience. There's aesthetic reasons to camp out, and there are aesthetic reasons to not.
Yeah, I think I should play around with it in the years leading up to doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like on some of like the other mountains, like, because like I could do Adams or like St. Helens again, and like, hey, let's see, what is Adams like in a day? That's still a 12,000 foot peak, right? Like, and going from the parking lot up, like that would be, but the margin of error for like crevasses and other things like would be much smaller, so it wouldn't be as big of a, it would be better that way. So I think, yeah, there's some things I need to play with there. Getting a little ahead of ourselves, I do want to ask, like, since we're talking about it, like tents, like I have like a Black Diamond, one of their yellow, Eldorado, whatever. But I've seen like in things like Cody Townsend's the 50 and stuff, they use like a mega mid style thing, and they dig a pit around it. Like, I'm like, wow, that looks a lot lighter than carrying my full tent with poles, because they just use like the ski poles for the, you know, to pitch it up and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you know, what is your opinion on that?
Boy, every trip's going to be very different. I've spent weeks at a time in floorless pyramid style tents and been totally fine, and I've had miserable nights in them on the other hand. And a proper 4-season tent, you're pretty much always going to like be out of the weather, and that's nice too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really bomber. Like, whenever I set it up, I'm like, this feels so safe. Like, even when you're in it, you're just like, I'm going to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. The floorless pyramid style tents, high on a big glaciated monolithic mountain like Rainier, I think you'd feel kind of vulnerable.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And that makes sense to me. Sometimes I see sometimes like mega mid stuff being really good for like traverses and things where you're in the forest and like, hey, I'm lower down and I don't need to worry about the wind as much, and, you know, and things like that. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of jumping around, but while we're talking about gear, should we just dive into it?
Let me look at the agenda again, look real quick. Maybe one day, and then we could do that, because then route planning would come. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. And fair warning, it is like a gnarly lightning storm here right now. If we cut out, that might be the story. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So what I'm going to try and do is share my screen. Just show. We'll just look together at my gear list that I just did in like a few minutes for this thing. Can you see what I'm seeing? Spreadsheet.
I don't know. My computer just did something weird. I think Zoom. I don't use Zoom very much, so I have to apologize.
Yeah, it's all right.
It just went into tablet mode for whatever reason. There it comes. Yeah. So the spreadsheet. I see it.
Spreadsheet. So this, everyone's got their own system for packing. This is just a master spreadsheet of literally all the outdoor equipment I own, and I can just go through. I just have, you know, item, its weight, a little bit of description, various categories I can sort by, and then a column for this trip. So like what I did was go through and mark what I would pack for a day trip, and then the weights of it, and what I would add for an overnight trip. And I don't know how much we really need to get into this, but notably, like, I didn't get too careful about splitting out group gear versus not.
Yeah.
in this case, but like what it boils down to, and this is in and grams actually, so that's almost 21 kilograms, which is
Sure.
just under 50 pounds. That's everything. That's skis,
Yeah.
boots, clothing, rescue gear, food, water, and stuff
That's not bad.
for a day mission, for one giant 1-day mission. And then including some like a first aid kit you'd be sharing, and ropes you'd be sharing, and communication equipment you'd be sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And then added onto that, if you were to go overnight, you could get it as low as another, whatever that is, 12, 13 pounds per person on top of whatever it is you're taking. So it doesn't have to be super, super heavy additional load.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of assume 2 nights out, 3-day mission if it were to be overnight.
Just to acclimatize.
Yeah. So I think what people are going to find interesting, what you might find interesting is on a day trip, I still am bringing shelter. This is a bothy bag or an overgrown tarp thing. It's like one of those, it's a techier version of those kids' parachutes you played with in kindergarten.
I have something similar that I bring as well.
Yeah. Glacier skiing rescue gear can be and should be quite simple. We're skiing in conditions where the chances of going in a crevasse are very, very low. Even on these complicated high cascade glaciers, we're going to bring kind of the minimal thing. A few slings, micro traction, rad rope.
So that was one of my questions. Like that was like, when is a rad rope acceptable? They're so new to me that I was like, whoa, is that something I could use on this? Or
kind of the only way to go, because you can
save
carry
so much
2
weight.
of them.
Yeah.
And in the team, a 3-person glaciated ski mountaineering team is going to should have 2 rad ropes. Each person has the full hardware kit, and there's always a rope on the surface. There's always a rope near the top of someone's pack,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera.
No. Okay.
Clothing's fairly typical, like midwinter ski touring.
Yep.
Type clothing, couple puffy jackets, sun protection, full shell gear. So I just sorted this. It's got, communications, altitude considerations. We didn't even talk about altitude, but the way Seattle mountaineers, climbers, skiers deal with Rainier just kind of blows my mind to just blast up there. But it is the way y'all do it. And where else in the world are people going to 14,000 feet every weekend all summer long?
Yeah, from sea level.
Sea level, but you're doing it there.
It blows me too. I definitely feel it when I do it.
Yeah. But this is a pulse oximeter is in here just to remind us that it is 14,000 foot peak.
Yeah.
Ski gear. I don't know what you've got for ski gear, but you're gonna want fairly light ski gear.
Yeah, I've got TLT 8 boots.
Perfect.
And Scarpa F1s. And then I've got like some Black Crows Orb skis.
Nice.
They're 91 in the waist, which I got primarily for volcano skiing. So I was like, well, this is what I do. And then this year I got a really good deal on the even skinnier Black Crows.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
I don't know with a heavy pack if I'd want to just stick with the 91, or if the other ones are 85. I don't know if there's beefy.
That's something you can experiment with, and you'd be surprised. The big pack doesn't change things as much as you might fear.
Yeah, and that would be great.
Turns ski gear,
the new ones I got are the ones I use primarily for on-piste fitness skiing. Like training, and they've been just so much fun. I kind of just want to use these for everything now.
Yeah, that's great. Ski crampons. You're gonna need, and you're gonna need and use all the spikes. Ski crampons, boot crampons.
That's a question. The boot crampons. So I have your traditional Petzl heavyweight. And then I also have those new ones, the leopards.
Yeah.
could you use the leopards on Rainier, or like is
Totally.
that you could?
Totally.
Yeah.
In the conditions you'd still want to ski in.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, like because I was when I got them, I was like, man, these things are like they pack up so small. Like I was kind of like every time I do a trip, I kind of reevaluate what I was doing. I was like, okay, what could I have done better on Adams? And I was like,
Yeah.
crampons. That would have been better. And at that time, I was skiing in Solomon MTN S Labs, like big, kind of heavier,
Oh yeah.
beefier boots. I was like, I don't think I need this either. Like, so I
Yeah.
think I've shaved a few pounds out of my kit from just switching up a few little things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever skied down something that I needed steel crampons to climb up.
That's a good like metric. Like if you would need real crampons, you probably don't want to ski it.
I've climbed up things with skis on my back that I wanted steel crampons for, but then I rappelled back down over that.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
Cool. Avalanche rescue gear will kind of be a function of season. Later in the season, it's not as big a deal. If you're up there in May, you definitely want the rescue gear.
But a shovel could still be helpful even later, I suppose.
Correct. Yep. Sun protection.
My list here.
For something like that, I'm going to bring light lens sunglasses, dark sunglasses, and goggles with both versions too. Like,
really?
You kind of have to go for it on those giant mountains, unless you have totally bomber weather forecast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for that, like I've used, like I have the Smith where I can pop the lenses out.
Yeah.
Goggles, and then I've got these jewel bows that go from clear to like category 3 darkness.
Yeah.
Because I love them. I got them primarily for like when I get up at dark 30 to go skiing at the resort before they open and get some laps in. And I was like, it's pitch black and but it's still windy. So yeah, okay.
I want to keep motoring along
Yep.
keep the video at a reasonable length, and to Zoom's gonna end us here in 7 minutes regardless. So then overnight stuff. Let's just look quickly at the overnight stuff. It's a bigger backpack, obviously the camping gear, tent, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, and cooking stuff. That's all the real difference you need. Same clothes, same tech gear, same rescue gear. It's just the things you need to sleep and eat for multiple days. It doesn't have to be a ton. I did put a normal tent on here. I used a Hilleberg.
Yep.
And I think is kind of the sweet spot there.
Those are great tents.
But any burning questions on gear before we look at a map real quick?
No, I don't think there's anything I couldn't email you afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
We could delve into that.
Yeah. I'm going to switch our screen then.
Cool. To the fun part.
And look at the map. Maps are cool. Oops, someone texted something in the chat box.
Oh, cool. I see that.
No, I lost it though.
It said I can see it, so it must have been when we were having trouble sharing.
Oh, okay. Classic.
Yes. Yeah. Existential questions.
Yeah. Awesome. So I zoomed right in, CalTopo, zoomed right in on the map. And I don't know, do you use CalTopo much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gaia primarily, but I definitely used CalTopo before. It's great.
They're all real similar. I think what's notable is that CalTopo is like crowdsourced route line.
Yeah.
Is actually pretty darn accurate. When I was tooling around looking at it up close, and it like avoids the major crevasse sections and stuff. So it's generated somehow from real world use. It's not just
that's awesome. I wouldn't have known that. I would have just assumed it was a generic line from whatever.
And I think I want to show you one more thing that'll help you in all kinds of scenarios. Maybe you've done this before, but we'll how do I get to see this? I'm gonna pull up a different tab here. You ever use this thing, the Strava heat map?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mainly for running and cycling. I've never really used it for skiing. So.
Yeah. So check this out. I did this earlier and it was fascinating
Oh.
because
They're finally bringing us skiers into the fold.
yeah, where are we? Here's Mount Rainier. So this is just everything, and you can switch to just data coded with coded that users have called skiing.
Yeah. No,
And so you can see
a lot of
Stevens
sense.
Pass
Or
uh, or
Crystal.
Crystal. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Stevens Pass way up north.
Just got to rep my local areas,
Yeah, and then you can see where the routes from the south and the routes from the north converge.
Yeah.
And you can look in satellite view and see people ski all over that interglacier, come in and out here. Yep. Sherman. And then what I found to be notable on this mountain in particular is that the shape of this line into Camp Sherman and out is almost exactly the same as the shape of this line into Camp Sherman and out.
Yeah.
So this is just an aggregate of all the users who have recorded it on Strava.
Mm-hmm.
And then this line on CalTopo is somehow generated from that same sort of crowdsourced data or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic. I didn't
Isn't
know
that cool?
Strava had that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. Now you know what I'm going to do all night.
Yeah. It's kind of addicting. That's what we do now.
Oh, man.
Virtual adventures all over the place. Yeah. And then beyond that, like you'd go back and forth between Strava and this, and you can do it anywhere, not just here. Here, there's enough data, obviously, that CalTopo drew in the red line that you wouldn't see on other types of data, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But in places where there's not enough, that there's like a real good digital breadcrumb trail established for you, but there is enough data for Strava, then you're really seeing cool things, like how people typically ski.
Yeah, because you can totally see it all. You can see Camp Muir's the huge, like, glowing white, Fuhrer Fingers to the left, and then Sherman's up there. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So just a tool in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Leverage all this giant data out there.
No, that's a fantastic tip.
Yeah. It's telling me less than a minute. What did we not cover here?
No, I think we covered a lot of it, man. Like, we went over like seasons, when to use a guide. Here's some of the gear. Here's like looking at the route. Like, the route wasn't maybe as in-depth, needed to be as in-depth because it's a well-known objective with a lot of, historical data that exists for it. So, but I think for me, like, this is perfect. Like, just kind of like getting hey, let's take the next few years, build up some skills on the lesser volcanoes. And in the process of doing that, meet some people, get some reputable, partners that I can go do some of this stuff with, and then either, use a guide or just the three of us go take it on.
Awesome. We'll check that out.
Yeah, I've got questions about gear, but I'll shoot you emails about that. So awesome.
Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll screenshot that gear list and put it on my website there with the video of this whole thing.
Yeah, and with instructions on how to turn that Alpha FL pack into a ski pack, how you prefer to do it.
Oh, okay, sure.
So that'd be cool. I figure you do it with those straps. I can't think of the name of them right now, but
I just strap ski straight up and down the side usually.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for your time and for walking me through this. I think this is gonna be a good one.
Awesome, Travis. And like I said, I'll get this video uploaded. You can come back to any part of it when you want.
Yeah. Thanks.